Good morning, y'all. Hope you're doing well today. So in today's message, I wanted to share with you some thoughts about how the transformation process can be a part of our everyday life, just in seemingly mundane moments and experiences, and how the heart is really like the catalyst, right? You might say, to alchemize a particular situation or experience into something that resonates with you, something that actually serves to motivate you and inspire you. So I just hope that you'll enjoy the message today. I hope you're doing well. So this morning I was watching Caroline Myss, M-Y, I think it's spelled M-Y-S-S. I'll drop the link down in the description. She has a YouTube channel on Archetypes, and so it's super interesting, and her channel is new to me, so I'm excited that I found it. I'm going to learn a lot from it. But the video I watched this morning, I think, is her most recent video, and she was talking about the Explorer archetype, and she was explaining, I think in the title she put it as like the Wanderer / Explorer archetype. And I thought I learned a lot just from this one video. I thought that it was interesting that she explained this archetype kind of like a personality type, and how the explorer part of this personality is the most beneficial for a person, right? But on the flip side, you have the shadow aspect, or the part that serves to really undermine the essential spirit of the archetype, and that's the wanderer. And she explained it like when a person's just wandering aimlessly, just never satisfied, which reminded me of how a lot of narcissistically inclined people are, right? They seem never satisfied, like they're just constantly on the move, on the go, just looking for something that they'll never find. You know what I mean? And she even mentioned like an explorer is the opposite, in that they like to seek, right? But they have a goal in mind. There's like an actual a treasure to find. And so that's like the healthy aspect of that archetype. Super interesting. So I just kind of watched it, just out of my own curiosity and interest. And then I was thinking about today's message, and I thought, I haven't looked in my Emerson book in a long time, so I'm gonna pick that up. So that's what I did. And this is Emerson's book on it's a variety of his essays. And I just like to flip it open and just see if the divine is leading me to share anything in particular. And I found it interesting because I literally opened it up at the very beginning of his essay on love, and so, which I thought was kind of a cool follow-up to my last video, where I broke down Beauty and the Beast, right, and the transforming power of love. So it goes right in alignment with how today's message has come together. And so I'm excited to share it with you. So let's go ahead and read a little bit, and then we'll have some discussion about it. All right, so it says, well, first of all, there's a little quote over here from the Quran, right? It says, "I was as a gem concealed, me, my burning ray revealed." So it's already kind of indicative of the treasure being found within, right? Which we know that the hero's journey is talking about that inner journey that the explorer goes on, right? So, but there is a treasure to be found. So it says, love. Every promise of the soul has innumerable fulfillments. Each of its joys ripens into a new want. Nature uncontainable, flowing, forelooking, in the first sentiment of kindness, anticipates already a benevolence which shall lose all particular regards in its general light. So I want to expand on this right here. I love how poetic he is when he writes, which, you know, even Caroline was talking about in her video, Emily Dickinson. And it's awesome. We're going to get to a portion in here that kind of just expands on what she was saying about Dickinson's poetry. I'm not super familiar with her. I read a little bit of it in college as part of my assignments and everything. And it was for me, a little bit too, I guess, romanticized, and I just couldn't really get into it, I guess, at that point in my life. But she was explaining that Emily Dickinson's poetry is kind of exemplary of going into one's own self, you know, through the heart, to just truly be able to see the beauty of the divine in nature, down to, like, you know, the flower petals and things like that. So it was really cool to hear her talk about that, and then we're going to expand on that in here. I just thought the synchronicity of what I opened this book up to and what I had just watched this morning was really cool. So I wanted to share that with you too. So what he's saying here in the beginning, every promise of the soul has innumerable fulfillments. Okay, and I feel like it's kind of like this human experience that we have can play out differently for each one of us. You know, it can look very different. It's like each one of us may experience what we believe to be love with a person in our lives, and yet it may play out totally different for, you know, each one of us. So I think that it's kind of like we have these inner experiences that await us in our human journey, okay? And they can play out in our life in so many different ways. It's kind of like all these different experiences in our human journey, right, on earth while we're here. It's like all these experiences act as like keys to unlock these different treasure boxes within our heart, you know, to experience, to have this internal experience that's so impactful that it's really transformative. You see what I'm saying? And so yes, I just thought that was really interesting. It just comes down to getting to a point in your life where your psyche has matured to a certain level where you can notice this happening in the moment. I think the noticing is a beautiful part of it. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of times once you get to a certain place of maturity in your life, you can look back on your youth, and he kind of goes into that. We're not going to read the whole thing, but he goes into that a little bit, like looking back on your youth, and it's like you can see, you know, see all these things and how what you were gifted with from all these experiences was an internal experience, you know, within your own mind and heart, and that's what stays with you, right? That's all these things change you, all these things grow you and help you to mature, right? Just as part of the soul's evolution, I feel like. So it says nature, uncontainable. We always talk about that creative force that flows from the divine, the numinosity, right? And we are vessels, so it's like, you know, coming through us and flowing through us and residing in us, you know, because the Bible explains how, you know, the body is a temple, right? So it says nature, uncontainable, flowing, forelooking. I view that as like faith, like always looking, you know, ahead, looking forward to the journey, just even day by day, you know, and through a positive lens, you know. Forelooking, in the first sentiment of kindness, anticipates already a benevolence which shall lose all particular regards in its general light. There's a lot of different ways we could take this, but I view that last statement right there as, and I've made some videos on assumptions. I've talked about assumptions before, and you have to be careful with this, okay? Because, you know, the Bible talks about that humans are flawed by design. By design, we are limited. We err by nature, even when we try our best. And so, to come to terms with the fact that that is the true nature of humanity, it's just something sometimes we just have to really work at, to really really take that in and understand that humans are imperfect. It's just to different degrees, and you have to safeguard yourself, right? For sure. Around some that are on the extreme part of the spectrum, I get that. But even just with people who are generally healthy, you still have to safeguard your heart. And this right here is exemplary of that, because it's explaining that, it says at that first sentiment of kindness, right? Then this nature that's always looking for the best and has that creative nature, wanting to make something of an experience or a meeting with someone, or it's like we kind of have this tendency to, hey, you want to be friends? Like kids, little kids, they just make friends like that. You know what I mean? It's just a, hey, let's do this. Let's be friends, like right away, And I think we think that we lose that as we mature into an adult, but do we really? Or is it just more of an internal kind of thought process when we meet somebody that there's that first sentiment of kindness and we kind of click? If you feel like you click with somebody, it's like you already go there. The point of what this is saying to me is you already go there in your mind and heart, and feel like, you're what does it say? Forelooking, right? In the first sentiment of kindness, our nature essentially that's within us anticipates already a benevolence. Okay, in other words, you're like, hey, this is gonna be great. We're gonna be great friends. Or, hey, I think there may be, a romantic, love developing here, whatever it is. So we have this benevolence that starts. It says, which shall lose all particular regards in its general light. This is so heavy. That's what I love about Emerson's work, is he can say so much in so little. And then I like to skip the parts where it just he just expands to the point of it being just poetic, for me. I like the poetic aspect, but I also kind of like to get to the main point too, which if you're like that too, you probably don't watch my channel, because I do tend to ramble a lot. But as a side note, it's true. But essentially what this means is at that first spark of a connection, okay, and it doesn't even have to be with a person with regards to friendship or romance. It can even be like that first spark of, hey, this is gonna be awesome, with a brand new job, okay, for example. It could be anything like that. The start of something, the heart just wants to immediately think like, yes, this is great, but it says, which shall lose all particular regards in its general light. To me, this can simply be summed up by saying this: if we overinflate something in our mind as putting it on a pedestal, like idolizing it, whether it's a person or a job or an opportunity or even like a vacation to a particular place you've just dreamed of visiting like your whole life, and then you finally go and you're like, this is it. You see what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, if we idolize something, then when it says it's general light, well, it's like to expect perfection out of anything is you're setting yourself up for failure, but you have to, the beauty of the work is to come to the realization that there is something to it when we say, perfectly imperfect. There's something to that. It's just sometimes it's a humbling experience. It's kind of like, to me, you might view this as being able to retain that childlike wonder about the world, right? But your innocence at some point is gone. When you realize, things are truly not perfect and fairy tale like all the fairy tales, impress upon you as a child, about certain things in life, like romance or whatever. When you realize that it's not really that simple and cut and dry, then, at some point, no matter what it is, it might be trauma or whatever, your innocence is what leaves you as you mature into an adult, right? But when the Bible says we must become as little children again, to enter into the kingdom of heaven, and it says the kingdom of heaven is within too, okay? So to me, it's like you come full circle. You know, you start out on that hero's journey as innocent and naive, and a lot of times you get taken advantage of and exploited and used and all this stuff too, which is just part of your lessons, is how I view it. I don't wish it on anybody though, but at some point when you're going through these life experiences and you're seeing you know, that things are not just always going to be perfect or as you expect, as the heart kind of inflates and paints things. It's, you know, it's like you have to really see reality for what it is. Then we're presented with a choice. At that point, we can sink into this state of just total disappointment, disillusionment, depression. You know, there's a saying in the book, I point because I think it's somewhere in my car. Yeah, I shared with you guys recently, Be Here Now, in the brown pages here, where he says, Ram Dass says, you know, if it's not enough, man, it's not enough. You see, so at some point we have to come to we have to face reality that, you know, things are not always going to turn out the way we think they are. Or things, you know, once we get to really understand a person or a job or a place we travel to or whatever it is, some kind of great hobby, we just really, you know, overinflated in our mind when we see it in its general light. You know, it's never going to meet that mark of perfection, right? So down here, when we get to that point, again, two choices: sink into just depression and just, you know, be kind of like a narcissistic type person where you're like, well, perfection still exists somewhere and I'm going to find it. I'm either going to be it, where they fool themselves into thinking they're perfect, or I'm going to find it in this perfect partner or this perfect, you know, title, career title, or whatever it is. They're just kind of, that's what I mean when I say disillusionment. You know, you can sink into depression or disillusionment or whatever. Or you can have this experience of kind of like alchemy within your heart, where there's this transformation within your heart, and this is the same thing as returning to that childlike state. You're not ever going to be innocent again, but you're going to be able to see life in that state of wonderment and appreciation again, once you accept the imperfections of reality. You see what I'm saying? And so he's going to expand on that. Let's read a little bit more. So he talks a little bit, you know, he gets really kind of poetic into his explanation. His example in this, right after what I just read to you, is kind of more about like, you know, in romance. And so he says, he who paints it at the first period will lose some of its later. He who paints it at the last, some of its earlier traits. I think, in other words, it's kind of like your perception changes as you learn more about, you know, you adjust what you're observing and experiencing in reality to your expectations. It's like you kind of have to, this adjustment process has to happen, you know, inside of you. Only it is to be hoped that by patience and the Muse's aid, we always have these helpers, we may attain to that inward view of the law, which shall describe a truth ever young and beautiful, so central in here, that it shall commend itself to the eye at whatever angle beholden. This is that whole statement, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Okay, that's what we're really digging into today. And the first condition is that we must leave a too close and lingering adherence to facts and study the sentiment as it appeared in hope and not in history. So this might be, for example, let me just give you this example. You ever heard about the talk about love languages, how people express their love differently, you know, and it's called a love language? This is related to this right here. In other words, a person might feel offended or hurt because they don't feel like they're receiving love from their partner, but it may just be that they're not understanding their partner's love language. Their partner might be doing all this stuff for them and out of love, and they're just missing it completely because that's not their love language, and so the way they're given love is different than the way it's being given back to them, and so they're missing the sentiment underneath what's there. So it's just a call to look deeper. It's a call to understand that our expectations are not always accurate. What we expect to see or experience as representative of truth and love and fulfillment, sometimes it's off, and we have to adjust as we go along in life. You know what I mean? So it says, and the first condition is that we must leave a too close and lingering adherence to facts and study the sentiment as it appeared in hope and not in history. For each man sees his own life defaced and disfigured, as the life of man is not to his imagination. Exactly. Each man sees over his own experience a certain stain of error, whilst that of other men looks fair and ideal. Let any man go back to those delicious relations which make the beauty of his life, which have given him sincerest instruction and nourishment, he will shrink and moan. So this is kind of like, it's kind of self-explanatory, right? After we've talked about the lens that we're looking through, but let's continue on a little bit more. Everything is beautiful, seen from the point of the intellect or as truth, but all is sour if seen as experience. Details are melancholy. The plan is seemly and noble. In the actual world, the painful kingdom of time and place, I thought that was an interesting description of the actual world. In the actual world, the painful kingdom of time and place, dwell care and canker and fear. With thought, with the ideal, is a mortal hilarity, the rose of joy. Round it, all the muses sing. But grief cleaves to names and persons and the partial interests of today and yesterday. That just simply means if we get hung up in all the details, is that really going to serve us well? It's kind of like, again, zooming, out and just trying to see the bigger picture. From that perspective, gives us more of true understanding. You see what I'm saying? When we're so focused on the details, it's not going to always line up with what we feel like, how it should be, whatever it is. So zooming out, seeing the whole picture, it just it makes a lot more sense that way, right? So this is interesting. It says, in looking backward, and of course I'm skipping around, right? In looking backward, they may find that several things which were not the charm have more reality. Hang on. In looking backward, they may find that several things which were not the charm have more reality to this groping memory than the charm itself, which embalmed them. But be our experience in particulars what it may, no man ever forgot the visitations of that power to his heart and brain. In other words, the impression that a person makes on us, the impression that an experience makes on us, that's what sticks. That's what's left. Again, I'm going to pull in a Bible verse. These three things remain, right? Faith, hope, and love. That's what we're left with in the end. And we know what the greatest of those is, right? So there's an impression made on our hearts and minds from every experience, right? So, yes. But be our experience in particulars what it may, whatever it was, right? Whatever it is. No man ever forgot the visitations of that power to his heart and brain, which created all things anew, which was the dawn in him of music, poetry, and art, which made the face of nature radiant with purple light, the morning and the night varied enchantments, when a single tone of one voice could make the heart bound. In other words, when it's talking about a muse, right? A lot of times, I'm thinking back to my art days in college. You know, a muse was like a model that was the inspiration for this grand painting or sculpture, right? The muse. And we have real muses in our life, people that spark desire to want to just we're so inspired in their presence, or from our friendship with them, you know, or if they were a teacher, or just any kind of role model, and grandparents sometimes, or just a wonderful boss we had at one point in our life, or whatever it is, right? A group that we were a part of, an organization, anything that left this lasting impact on us can serve as a muse to inspire us to then continue on with this creative force, right? To let it flow through us into creating music and poetry and art, and, you know, just whatever ways the creative force wants to express itself in our lives, you know, just all the many and varied ways. It doesn't have to be art. It can be creating your day, in that you go out there and you, whether you work with children and you're inspiring them, it's kind of like it just continues on, passing it forward, you know. It's a beautiful thing. And so this is, to me, this was a really important message today, because I think that this can serve as a great reminder to add this lens to our internal detection system, our internal guiding light, the lens that we try to use as part of our discernment with who we associate with, who we allow to be close to us in our life. Does it feel energetically like this person is blocking off this creative energy and holding you captive so that you can't exercise this creative force in your life? Or does this person or group or whatever inspire you to do more and to embrace life more fully? So that's just really important to consider with who we walk this life journey, you know, with and beside. So yes. And then to close here, it says I skipped a little bit. The passion, right? That's what I mean by they kindle that spark within us, right? Certain people do that. They have that impact on us. The passion rebuilds the world for the youth. It makes all things alive and significant. Nature grows conscious. And this is, I think, what this was my impression of how Caroline was explaining Emily Dickinson's poetry, kind of like this, what I'm about to read to you. Nature grows conscious. Every bird on the boughs of the tree sings now to his heart and soul. The notes are almost articulate. The clouds have faces as he looks on them. The trees of the forest, the waving grass, and the peeping flowers have grown intelligent, and he almost fears to trust them with the secret which they seem to invite. Yet nature soothes and sympathizes. In the green solitude, he finds a dearer home than with men. And isn't nature just so comforting like that? But it's all about what's in here, what's within. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? That internal eye of the heart, okay? And that's why it's so important to guard it, to safeguard it. I'm reminded of Billie Holiday's song, I've always loved it, Blue Moon. She's explaining how, you know, her perception of the whole world in the song has shifted and changed for the better because she's in love. Because that is the transforming power of love. You know, it doesn't have to be romantic love. It can be like, you know, godly love for one another. You know, just a pure love without any expectations. You know, it can be that. But love is very transformative, and that's why we are instructed in the Bible to, you know, love one another. And so it is transformative. It can totally shift and change how you view all of reality. And so I just encourage you to consider this as you navigate your day, your week, your year, and your life. And I'm just sharing with you my thoughts. about the people you associate with. Just kind of take notice of how they impact this energy within that's inside of you, right? Are you inspired, or do you feel the total opposite? Like, do you feel this blockage of like you're frozen up, like I've described to you guys before, how you can feel frozen too around certain people. So I hope that this has given you a lot to think about today. I hope that you enjoyed the message. I enjoyed sharing it with you, and I just hope that you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you again very soon.